I would like to share my story and my journey into leadership. It's not as nice as some of the ones that I have heard before, but I think that we learn a lot from failure. So we can all agree that what we know about leadership these days is not the same that we knew decades ago. Leadership has changed. And when I was younger, all I know about leadership was related to power, authority, male energy. It was all about my family being in the military, and I was the only woman among men. So obviously, everything I knew about leadership was giving orders, shouting, and being very, very strong. That's all I knew about leadership back then. So for me, when I thought about leadership, it was all about having all the answers and knowing exactly what to do and how to do it. You didn't ask questions, you gave orders, you told people what to do. Obviously nowadays, nothing like that happens, but that's what I knew. So fast forward. When I was going through a very difficult time in my life, I was offered a middle leadership position. I was so excited because I had been a teacher for 20 years. So being in a difficult situation, in a difficult personal situation, and offering a job higher than what you applied for me was excitement. It was my time to shine, and it was my time to prove others how strong I was. It was my time to show everyone the leader I could be. So I don't have to tell you that I failed miserably, because I applied exactly what I knew about leadership into an environment that was not expecting a woman to have a very male energy, or even to give orders and to stand her ground. But you don't know what you don't know, right? So I didn't know what was wrong with my team. I didn't understand why they weren't doing the things that I was telling them to do. How dare them, right? I didn't understand why I was not being heard, seen, and respected as their leader. I didn't know why weren't they following orders. So I was a bit lost. I did everything I could to show my boss, the person who has given me the opportunity, right, of becoming a leader, that I could do what I was expected to do, that I could shine, that I could be strong, that I could be resilient. But unfortunately, all those traits that I have learned before were negative traits of leadership, but I didn't know. So after a year, or probably before the year ended, I quit my job. It was a disaster. My self-confidence went down completely. You have no idea how your ego was, brought to the ground and stepped on, and everything you knew was completely crumbling in front of your eyes. That was my experience in leadership. But then, obviously, I quit that job, and then fortunately, I succeeded in all my other careers, and I had success, and everything went fine. But something stayed with me for years, probably for decades. I wanted to know why was I wrong? What did I do wrong? And then I started becoming a leadership coach. I even did a leadership program with Oxford University. I even have an MBA in leadership. So you can see that I became obsessed with leadership. And I knew that there were some things that needed to change, definitely. So, okay, so yes, you read that. So this is very important. So basically, in the United States, women held approximately 5% of upper management positions, and 0% were CEOs before year 2000. But then everything changed. Everything was better. After year 2013, women held 17% of positions of power. Leaders today are completely different. We know now that leaders need to be self-aware, need to have emotional intelligence, they need to be purpose-driven. We also know that they lead with authenticity, they adapt to change, they're resilient, they prioritize collaboration over success, over performance. We know that now. Back then I didn't. So the World Economic Forum said that nowadays women have 31% of positions of power now. So things have shifted. And we all now know that thanks to research, the most important thing about becoming a leader is to get to know yourself first. You need to have self-awareness. You need to understand what triggers you. You need to understand the way that you communicate. You need to understand what is important to you. What is your purpose? How you are driven? How do you perform? But most importantly, you need to identify what are your strengths, what is your energy for impact, but also what is the energy for impact of your team? What are their strengths? Otherwise, maybe that leadership style is not going to be very successful. So, because I became very curious and interested in leadership, there are some things that I learned. We all have the power to impact others. We do, whether we are leaders or individuals. In any position, we can always impact other people's lives. We can impact organizations. We can either become or be strategists, which are the ones that make sense of ideas, or we can be game changers, which use innovation, we use creativity. We can also be implementers, which is basically the people that make things happen, the doers, the ones that you tell them an idea and they make them happen straight away. Those are the implementers. And we have some of them, or some of us have that energy to impact from that energy and from that doing. We are also polishers. Some of us could be polishers, which are the ones that are constantly thinking on improvement and quality, to make things better every single time and in every single project. And there are also the playmakers, who are the ones that are focusing on inclusion and people. Clearly, back then, I didn't know anything about this. I didn't know if I was an implementer or a strategist or even a polisher. I just wanted to give orders and I wanted people to do as I said, because that's what I knew. But imagine the things that I could have done if I had known this. This is the GC index. It's on organic metrics. Has nothing to do with personality traits. It's about the energy for impact. And this is one of the tools that I discovered when I was doing all my studies. So the beauty about the GC index is that you are not only one thing. You can shift, you can combine different things, so you can be in certain industries or in certain positions or roles. You can be a very high polisher and a very low implementer. But I also have found that if you change that position, or if you go and do a different job and your purpose or your motivation is different, all these traits are going to change as well. So sometimes, and I can identify some of you being playmakers, where you put people in front of everything, where you care for people, when you want people to feel good about themselves, and you want them to know, you want them to be part of your projects and everything that you do. I can also identify people that are polishers, which are the ones that want to do everything perfect. They want to improve all the time. I'm a polisher. So they want to do everything perfect all the time. They want to succeed. They always think that there is a different way and a better way of doing things. Imagine if you are a full polisher. It's exhausting for your team. There are also the game changers. These are the ones that most companies are trying to recruit the most, because they are the ones with ideas. They are the ones with innovation and creativity. But sometimes all those ideas just stay here in the metaverse or in the universe, right? You need to bring them to the ground. You need to make them happen. And that's when the implementer comes in. So how do we actually do to use this energy for impact in different scenarios? Well, you can use the character strengths. The character strengths are basically positive traits that allow us to come into flow, to feel good about the things that we do, because we do them in the way that comes naturally to us, right? So for some people, humor is a very strong character strength. For some others, it's curiosity. For some others, it's hope, right? Or maybe leadership. But it is different for everyone. The beauty of the character strength, when you get to know yours and you get to know your team's character strengths, is that you learn to tune them in. You learn to tune them up or down as a sound equalizer, because you always don't need humor. Humor sometimes, if you're going to go to a funeral, maybe humor is not the best of the approach. Although I know that you have seen people that during very difficult times, very sad times, they come with a joke or they try to use humor because that's their strength. But they haven't been told that they could lower the humor and maybe using faith or hope or another strength just to level up in that situation. So character strengths are divided in these 6 values, which are, I'm going to read them from here: wisdom, courage, humanity, justice, temperance, and transcendence. And imagine if we all knew about the character strengths. There are actually 24 according to the positive psychology. There you go. So imagine all the things that you could do. Imagine the way that you could communicate with your teams and as leaders if you were able to understand how present or how low these character strengths are in you. Again, everything changes. So it's not necessarily that if you have leadership on the top and is very present, doesn't mean that when you go home you're going to start bossing around everybody. Not necessarily. You can tune it down. And if you think about it, maybe some of the problems in all relationships, personal and professional, are due to our character strengths. Because sometimes we are not equalizing them, we are not bringing them down or up when it's needed. So sometimes it's very important as persons and as leaders to get to know these character strengths. Can you imagine as a leader in front of your team and you start identifying or even asking HR to bring character strengths tests into your teams so they can know what to do, what to use, and then coach them with it? It would be beautiful. I can assure you that the shift in your team is going to be very different. So moving forward, obviously when we are able to use our energy for impact, when we are able to use our strengths, we are going to sense the environment and the situations in a different way, in a more calmer, in a state of flow, something that brings you well-being. I wouldn't use the word happiness because that's a completely different thing. I know people sometimes use happiness with everything, but you enter in a state of flow, which means you are using what comes naturally to you without having to push yourself, without adopting things that are not yours, like it happened to me. I wasn't a bossy leader. I didn't have to do all the things that I needed to do as a military. I wasn't in the military. I wasn't a man, but that's what I knew. But imagine if back then I could understand what my character strengths were, understand my team's character strengths, and my energy and their energy for impact. Things would have gone smoothly. Things would have flown, right? So when you find this energy for impact, when you use your strengths, it's easier to find that purpose. But let me be clear here, please. Everyone asks me, what's your purpose? I don't know. I know what I like. I know what makes me happy. I know what motivates me every morning. Purpose long term, I don't know. But, sorry. Purpose isn't something you find out in a moment of enlightenment and just comes down to you. And then all of a sudden you know, oh, I found my purpose. I'm finally better. Is something you feel when your strengths, values, and impact energy are working together in flow. It's what transforms leadership from a job into something much bigger. And this is the other thing that I learned from almost 10 years of studying leadership. Leadership is not about me as a leader. If you don't have followers, if nobody follows you, if nobody listens to you or respects you, can you call yourself a leader? Is more or less the question that if a tree falls and breaks and makes noise in the middle of the woods and nobody hears it, did it happen? More or less like that. So I understood that being a good leader is about the others. It's about providing a safe space. It's about providing psychological safety. It's about providing an environment of well-being where things can happen in a different way, instead of just waiting for you to shine and waiting everyone else to just nod and say yes to everything you say, right? So I understood that my purpose as a leader was to empower others. 30 years ago, I didn't even know what empowerment was. I was never empowered. I was brought down. I was a woman, I am still a woman, with very strong personality characteristics, right? I know that I do things differently. I know that I think differently, but I didn't know how to do that when I was a young girl. So I didn't know what empowerment was. I wanted to study quantum physics. I wanted to be a mechanical engineer 40 years ago. I had to study psychology because that was girls do. I don't regret it, but it would have been nice to get under a car and build an engine. I'm not gonna lie, it would have been amazing for me. But I didn't have that. I wasn't empowered. Nobody saw my strengths and nobody saw the good things that I could bring in, right? But I found that my purpose as a leader is exactly that. I want to get to know everyone. And thanks to that horrible experience and that failure, I could learn from it. So now when I have coaching sessions and now when I have to work with teams in corporate, that's the first thing that I tell leaders. Don't tell me about you, tell me about your team. Tell me what you feel and what you think about your team. And step aside. See how you feel when you're actually giving them the floor, the spotlight. Let them shine. What do you think you can do? What do you think they can do? Please tell me what you don't know, and who do you think can help you and support you during that process or that project. And I have to tell you, and I'm sure that you know this, but most leaders just stand silent because normally they're taught that to be a good leader, they have to do things, they have to do everything, they need to be perfect, right? They will never doubt themselves, although they do when they get home and they have a big head and they have to take a lot of paracetamol because the stress is going to the roof. The last thing is poise, and I love that word. Because poise is not about being perfect, and it's not about always staying calm, but it's about not losing your center. And how is that supposed to happen? Well, when you know your energy for impact, when you know your strengths, when you are offering other people to do things in a different way, when you allow them to be, when you get to know yourself as well, then things become calmer, right? It's about making decisions that protect your peace and your well-being. And I think that is so important when you become a leader. It's about responding to the situations and the context, but not reacting. That's what poise means to me. It has nothing to do with the perfect silhouette or anything. It's about that. It's about understanding that you need to protect your energy, you need to protect your well-being, and most importantly, your team's well-being and peace of mind and mental health. So, to finish, I would like to invite you all to become ambassadors of impact and well-being, not only within your teams, but in yourselves and your families and your personal life as well. Because one of the most important things that we have noticed after decades of research is that part of not taking care of your well-being, whatever that means for each one of you, because it's different, is going to have repercussions. Mental health, physical health, and whatever else is there in the world. I don't want to get too spiritual. So when we become ambassadors of well-being and impact, we start asking people different questions. We don't tell them, what are you going to do? We tell them, how do you think you can impact this situation in a better way or in a positive way? That's a powerful question. And I would like you to think for 1 second, what would be your answer? How can you impact a certain situation you're in right now in a positive way, using your energy for impact, whether you're a polisher, implementer, game changer, strategist, playmaker? What characters do you think that you could use that are going to impact that situation better and in a positive way, right? And how are you going to use that flow and that state of well-being to do a better job? So, after decades and decades and decades of studying leadership, I can tell you without any regret that I am very grateful for that absolute failure when I was in my 20s. Because thanks to that, I kept on studying. I become better, calmer, nicer. I empower people. That's something that I do and that I love doing. And I think that because of that, my own well-being has shifted and has improved. So my name is Quinones. I am a transformational and leadership coach. And I hope that you have enjoyed this presentation. Thank you very much.